Portland, Oregon. It is sunrise over Portland, and it's time for some first flights of the day in the real world of airlines. And one of those first flights is this one right here. It is a United A320 that is getting ready to leave Portland, Oregon and head down to San Francisco. Hello, my name is Dave. I do the spy flights over on Twitch TV, and over here on YouTube, I like to do what I call full flights, cold and dark flights, and usually it's with one of the newest airplanes. Now, the airplane that we're flying today is not necessarily one of the newest airplanes, but I think it's one of the best deals that you can get for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And the big reason is, well, this airplane is free. Yeah, this is the Fly By Wire A320. So this is a Neojet. So this is a really, really nicely done airplane. There's some really amazing payware airplanes that have come out for Microsoft Flight Simulator. But before those paywares showed up, the team from Fly By Wire was working on this airplane, and they haven't given up. They are doing some really, really amazing things. So we were flying this the other day on this spy flight, and they were saying, you know, you really ought to do a YouTube on this one and show off some of the cool stuff here. So we're going to be flying Portland to San Francisco. The big thing that we're going to be looking at, among other things, is the advanced electronic flight bag on this airplane. We are shadowing a real-world A320 flight. The add-ons that I'm using for this is SimBrief and SimToolkit Pro, Navigraph charts, and I'm using, I think it's a nice payware airport for San Francisco. It might be also, I think this was a payware for Portland too, but there's also some pretty good freeware too. This thing will do realistic fuel, cargo, and passenger loading. The electronic checklist is something new. If you watch the spy flights over on Twitch, you know that for complex airplanes, I've printed up checklists, real-world checklists to try and not forget anything. This airplane has an electronic checklist, and so let's go ahead and give that a try. If this is your first time joining me here on one of these flights, one of the whole points of this is for you to pause the video here on YouTube, fire up Microsoft Flight Simulator, hop in your airplane, and fly along with me. Now, you will need the experimental version of the Fly-by-Wire, but it's very easy to get that. Just go to the Fly-by-Wire website, get the installer, download the experimental version. It really is pretty simple, and I think it's one that you definitely should have because, again, this is a free airplane. Today's flight plan is Portland to San Francisco. We're departing off of Portland's runway 28, the Mini 5 departure. Couple of checkpoints, Bodega 3 into San Francisco's 28 right. Cruise is flight level 390. Flight time, gate to gate, should be an hour and 55 minutes. It's a 557-mile flight. Out to the flight deck we go here. Now, a little bit of preparation that I've done before the flight is I have already gone and done my flight plan. So I do have this flight plan that I've downloaded. I've also entered some information into a set of flight notes. You may recognize this. This set of flight notes right here is something that I've cut and pasted into the description here on YouTube. You can go and take and cut and paste this and put it into Notepad and use this as a notepad for your flights too. I really like it. It works out really, really well for me. So I've got all the information off the flight plan, but I'm going to keep the PDF shortcut minimized on my other desktop. The other thing that I've gone and done is I've come over here and it's time to get some charts. So this is Navigraph. Let's get a quick stack of charts here. And so let's go ahead and download the flight plan from SimBrief. There we go. Go over to Portland. So the first thing we'll do is get the airport chart. We could get the parking gates too. SID, it's going to be the Mini 5. There's Mini 5. I'm just hitting the little thumbtack, and you can see the charts populating along the bottom there. Coming on in, we're doing Bodega 3. There's the Bodega 3 arrival going to runway 28 right. I think 28 left may be closed right now in the real world. Let's get airport and gate information, and there is what I like to call my stack of charts. So here's my stack of charts. They're all lined up here, and I think the real-world pilots like to do this too. They'll go and stack up all the charts that they're going to need. And if an airport is using two different runways for landing, you get the both of the runways that you'll need, or all three if you need those too. How do I know what the real world is doing? There's two great ways to know. The first way is around the world you can use METAR TAF. Link in the description. But METAR TAF here is Portland. Let's go ahead and refresh it. And here is the latest information. And this looks like we've got a new METAR since my last update. So we're going to come on in here and I'm going to just paste this in, and there it is. And I usually like to keep the latest METAR in my flight notes too. Another way that you can do this is if you're in the United States, there's something called FAA Digital ATIS. Link in the description. And then what you can do is go and refresh this one. And it's most of the major airports. So it's not going to be the small airports, but it will be the major. And so this is how you're able to go and see runway 28 glide slope critical area is not protected. So they're using 28 right. Visual to 28 left, runway 28 right is what they're using for arrivals. This is information Zulu. I really like having the digital ATIS. I wish there were more digital ATIS sites, and I also kind of wish they were around the world. I imagine real world pilots would like to be able to just check the ATIS from their hotel room before they have to go out and, just, okay, what are we doing here? So you can do your morning coffee briefing. Okay, we've got our flight plan. We've got our stack of charts. Critical flight equipment. We have our cup of coffee here. Let's go to the airplane. There's no way to open the door and engage the jetway, so you do need to go into the airplane, and I will usually go to the airplane, and I need to go and get out of drone cam mode. So over in showcase camera, you have to go out of there. And then I can go, oh, look at that, sunrise. This is real world time, real world weather. And now we can go and let's just hit the electronic flight bag button. And so here's the cockpit. There's the cockpit view. I'll go right to the electronic flight bag, click the center of it, and that's what turns it on. And this is called the fly pad. I think they still call that. All right, and here it is, your flight. So the first thing you do, click this green thing, import SimBrief flight plan. There's our flight plan, and holy cats, look at this. There's the weather for us too. Isn't that cool? Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Let's go down here and see what's next. There's the clipboard. Hey, there's the flight plan that I just downloaded. All of that is in there too. So the PDF is nice to have, but it's right here in the electronic flight bag. Come on down here. This is where we can go and connect a jet bridge. We can also go ahead and connect the ground power unit. And once the jet bridge connects, one of the things that it will do is it will also open up the main passenger door for you. You could also call the fuel truck. You don't have to do anything else, but these are the things that I will usually do. So jet bridge is open, and that's going to open your main cabin door. So with that done, let's go over here to the fuel page. So right now we have got 3.3 tons of fuel aboard the airplane. What you could do is you can come down here. Notice here I have my refueling time is set to real. See where the little cloud is? There is the fuel that I need for today's flight. So for the flight, we're going to need, where is it? I don't think it's up there. Let's go ahead and start it and see what happens. I'm sure it's right in front of me. And the airplane's refueling. So there we go. Airplane is refueling. And I don't think that you see a truck or anything like that. The stuff that you see around the airplane is, I think, the basic Microsoft Flight Simulator ground clutter and stuff. So I'm kind of getting to the point in my sim where I'm getting ready to turn it off. Other airplanes like the PMDG and the Phoenix, they have their own pushback trucks. I kind of think that that's becoming fairly normal. And in fact, I think this airplane has pushback too. So we really don't need the extra ground clutter, and that might just help save a few resources soon. With all that said and done, the pilots have got their information, the flight bag's set up, they've walked down the jetway, they've come aboard the airplane, and let's go ahead and turn on some power. So battery number 1 and battery number 2 are going on. We do have ground power, so we can punch that in too. There's ground power. And then we're also going to turn on the navigation lights. The nav lights on this airplane only have one setting, off and on. The real Airbus has 2 of them. I'm sure that's something that they're going to fix someday soon, but right now that's really, really minor. So many other things in this airplane are great. We are refueling, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn no smoking to flat out on. We're also going to turn up the overhead integrated lighting. And I think I read somewhere that they also suggest that you turn the dome lights on to dim. Just all the time, you have your dome lights on to dim. And our airplane is coming to life. How about that? Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have to come down and turn up the levels of the monitors. And I'm turning these up to about 10 o'clock. Look here, this one's about 10 o'clock. And then the inner knob, I turn that down to about 10 o'clock too. If you look over here, one of the things is terrain radar has had an INOP sticker. Guess what? It looks like they scratched it off. Terrain radar works on the airplane now. How about that? See, we can come down here and we're going to turn up the ECAM again to about 10 o'clock or so. And then I'll come down here and I like to turn up the integrated lighting on the pedestal. The other thing that you could do is there are two knobs underneath the flight control unit. So the knob on the left is the integrated lighting up here, and the knob on the right turns up the intensity of the numbers. So that's pretty cool too. And if we look down here, you can see that the ECAM says that we are refueling. And if you look, you can see the number is slowly going up too. Over on the flight plan did tell me that for our flight down to San Francisco, we're going to need 6.3 tons of fuel. No, 6.6 tons of block fuel. So 6.6 tons, and we're at 5.5, so they're almost done refueling the airplane. We can also come down here. This airplane is, this was one of the first airplanes that I think that I've seen outside of the FS Labs A320 to model an ATSU AOC system. So there's ATSU, and if you're wondering, ATSU stands for Air Traffic Services Unit. AOC stands for Airline Operations Control. Thank you, Sibington, over on Twitch, for telling me what all that meant. GPS primary is lost right now. We're going to go and clear that. Init, and we're going to go ahead and init a data request. And there is our flight plan, PDX to San Francisco. Estimated flight time 1:28. It's an hour and 55 minutes gate to gate. Back over to this panel, and everything's looking good. You can go and request weather. So you could also get a little printout. And yeah, the printer actually works in this airplane. So go do a weather request. It's not quite ready yet. So we'll just go ahead and get some more information going here. Let's go and return and do init over here. And then we can go up here and we can go and turn on the IR system. To do the IRs, I usually turn IR number 1 on, and you flip the switch, and then I think the real pilots, they wait for to see that the on battery light comes on. While I'm waiting, I can hold down the test button here for the APU fire test, and the on battery light came on. So then the next thing we'll do is do IR number 2, and let's do a fire test for engine 2. And there's that, and then we'll come here. Is the on battery light going to pop on? There it goes. So those things pop on. I think that you want to see each IR is that light goes on. I believe what that tells us is that each IR has a direct line to the battery in case we lose power. That way the IR, the ADIR system does have some sort of power, so at least you know where you are. Okay, crew supply of oxygen, I usually turn that on about now. And we'll also just go ahead and hit the master switch for the APU. We'll look down here, and we should see that the flap opens. Come on, flap. It's the little flap in the back of the airplane. It says the flap is open back there. We'll look at that in a second. We can go and turn on the APU. That's going to get us pneumatic pressure. Pneumatic pressure is the air that's running through all the air ducts in the airplane. And then we can go outside the airplane, and we'll hear the APU starting up. That's the flap right there. So the flap is this thing under here. And that's the air inlet going into the APU. And there is the little jet engine. So electrical power will still stay on ground power for a while, so it doesn't have to work as hard, but we'll at least get the air running through the air ducts, the air conditioning going on, because we want to keep the airplane well ventilated because it's still, you know, COVID. So this is now coming on. That's looking good, and it says it's available. We're going to do the APU bleed and turn the temperature in the back of the airplane down just a few clicks because there's more people in the back. It's going to get warmer. Okay, now we can go and let's do an init request. And here is our flight information. So flight information is looking really good. Let's do an IRS init now. And we're going to clear this one and align on the ref and confirm. So now it's going to go and align itself. Now another thing that we can do with this airplane is we can go and get winds and request winds in now. And I think there it is. There's the wind, which is absolutely amazing. Refueling is done. You can see the refueling light is done here. So let's go over here. And now that we're done with refueling, let's go to payload. And payload, you can see, let's go and hit this download. This gets all of the weight and balance for our flight. 110 passengers. And now we can go and just hit the button. And now the passengers start boarding the airplane. And there is also a little bit of music that is playing in the airplane too. If you have Navigraph, you can go ahead and hit the charts button here. And this should eventually go and get our flight plan in here. There's PDX. So this is how we can go and get everything we need. We can go to the taxi chart and we'll get airport info. We can go to the SID chart and we know that we're doing Mini 5. So that's good. Let's go to the 2. And now we know that we're doing Bodega. So let's see if we can find the Bodega. Oh, that's SID. Hit the star button. There's Bodega 3. We know that we are going to be landing on, is it 28 right or left? 28 right is what we've got. So 28 right. So we'll click that. And we're just hitting the little thumbtack. We're also going to need airports and parking gates. And there it is. Now go to pinned charts, and there's all of our charts. So it's all stacked up. We can hit the PDX chart. So here's taxi. And there's our taxi chart. How about that? It's daytime, so we're going to make it a daytime chart. And wow, this is pretty cool. So we can come back here. How's our passengers? We have 18 passengers aboard right now. Now you can do fast or instant loading, but I've kind of found that if you get the passengers and bags going about now and all the setup that we're going to do in the cockpit, by the time we're done setting up the cockpit, passengers are in their seats and we're ready to go. Okay, so wind is in. So we're going to come on down here and let's go to the F plan or flight plan. PDX, we know that we're going to be blasting off on 28 right. So runway 28 right. And we know we're doing Mini 5. Okay, Izen, Famak, and Hisu. I think we can look at our flight plan here. It's just a little faster for me to look at it on the PDF than going to the electronic flight bag right now. Famak. And I think that the real world pilots, they're going to have a printout. So Famak. I'm pretty sure that most of my pronunciations of a lot of waypoints are really bad. But there you go. San Francisco arrivals. We are coming in on ILS 28 right. And we're doing Bodega 3. And it is, transition is Eddie. I remember this one. So it's Eddie. And let's see, what is it? I think it's Melback is going to be this one. Melback. There we are. Okay, all of those are set, and insert that. I'm doing all of this out of memory. We've done this flight before. If you've got your charts, you look on Bodega 3. So after Bodega 3, there's Bricks. After Bricks, you know, you're going to go ahead and look around for Eddie. There's Eddie. So you're going to have a little bit of vectors to Eddie. And that's how it is that I knew how to get in there. So I've done this one before. Another thing that I will go and do, especially on a VATSIM flight, is I will try and see if I know. So today we're doing San Francisco to Portland. if I have time, I will go to something like FlightAware, and I will go and look up a United San Francisco to Portland flight and get the gates for that flight. So I know that that United flight is going to depart out of Echo 3 and go to Echo 6. That way, when you get off the runway, usually ground control says, you know, United 441, welcome to San Francisco, say parking. And people go, parking? What they want you to do is, do you have a gate? Do you know what your gate assignment is? And that's how you can come up with a gate assignment. So, and it's not just United, it can be for any airline that has gate information on a real world site like FlightAware or Flight Radar 24 is another one that you can find. Okay, coming on here, let's do a quick check of the departure. And our departure today on Mini 4. When you get your clearance from VATSIM, they will usually tell you climb via the SID. And in a lot of cases, that's all that they will say. And what they're expecting you to do is know what your initial climb is. Some SIDs give you an initial climb and an altitude. I don't see one here. So chances are, if we were getting our initial climb here, well, there's 540. So 540 before you make your turn, but we don't have a cleared altitude. I don't see. Nope, I don't see one. If it's right in front of me, I'm an idiot. So anyhow, at this point in time, if there is no cleared altitude, then I'll just go ahead and put my final cruise in here now. Now, if there's no altitude listed on the SID and star, one of the things is chances are in your clearance they will give you an altitude, but in this case you kind of have to make it up. Like everything in airplanes, every airport is different. Altimeter here in Portland is 2995. 2995. There we go. And do I have them? Yeah, I have all of these altimeters. It's something I really like. I like being able to tie all the altimeters together. Maybe do we have to do it down here? Okay, you do have to do the backup altimeter. So that's just helpful. All right. Let's see. Our squawk code for today's flight is going to be 2000. There we go. There is a nice squawk code, and the airplane continues to come to life. How are the passengers doing? 79 passengers of 110 passengers. If you take a look up here, you see the time. The Zulu time is 13:24 Zulu. Our departure time for today is in 10 minutes. So one of the things to do is, as you're progressing through the world of Flight Simulator and stuff, start getting in the back of your head when your departure time is. And that's because if you're going to eventually want to participate in big VATSIM events like Cross the Pond. And Cross the Pond is going to give you a slot time or a departure time. And if you're not ready to go at your departure time, you miss your slot. And that means you might have to sit and hold for 20, 30 minutes before they're going to be able to work you in with the other departures. So on-time departures are a thing in the airline world, and they're a thing in the VATSIM world. You don't have to worry about that right now as you're just getting started, but eventually it's a good thing to do. While our passengers are coming aboard, let's go down here and you see we've got a checklist. Cockpit preparation. Look at this. Gear pins and covers have been removed. Fuel quantity is confirmed. That's good. Seatbelts. Seatbelts aren't on yet. We'll wait until the door's closed. But look at all of this. You can now do this electronic checklist. How about that? Let's go back over here. 96 passengers. Let's go down here. Did it remember it? It did. So we can go back and forth. How about that? This airplane is getting smarter and smarter all the time. Cabin views are kind of a thing with an awful lot of airplanes. This airplane's cabin is not really modeled. There are a couple of places where they have gone and they have put some things where you can set up a cabin view. So we've got these views that we have set up here. It's hard to set these up. If you go and take a look, as you slide over here, you can see, see, they really didn't model the cabin, but you can set up some cabin views, and there are ways that you can go and set those up as a quick view from the cockpit. So most of my views, all of my views are set up on the number pad, and so I'm able to set up a couple of cabin views. I wish that was something that more of the developers would do. Is, you know, it's a flight sim thing. Okay, real world, you don't care about the cabin views, but flight simmers, we really do want to be able to go and look out the window. Passengers are boarded. Look at that, 110. Our passengers are all aboard. How about that? That's pretty good. So what we can do now is our weight of the airplane is 54.5 kg. Let's do what I call init page B. So come on over here. GPS primary is set to, so init and page B. Okay, page B is, so 54.5.
On behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here. Waiting to see final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
I believe you can turn those things off, and I shouldn't probably mock the announcement like that, but, you know, I'm a live streamer on Twitch. I'm allowed to mock things. On occasion, not too much. 54.5. Let's try and put this in. So, zero fuel weight. Final zero fuel weight is 54.5. Do the little slash here, and then our center of gravity is 23.6. So 23.6. And you can put that in there. Fuel. Read it right off the gas gauge, which is right here. 6.6. 6.6. And there you go. Now, while you're here, you see that 23.6? You can come down here and look over here, and there's CG, there's 20, 25, so 23.6 is going to be up 0.8. So I'm just going to make a note right now, up 0.8 for my trim setting. So the next thing that we got to do, and I don't think that they have this set up right now, is takeoff speeds. They don't have this set up for us, so there is an application that you can use. It is a really nice thing called SimSmart. It's like $5, and I think that if you just do SimSmart A320, that kind of a Google search, you should be able to get this little application. I think it's a really nice little app, and it gives me everything but trim. So, airport code. To make this work, we're going to go and do KPDX and hit OK. Retrieving airport data. Please wait. And after it's done waiting, Portland International, now we can select our runway. And we know it's going to be 28 right. And grab the METAR. There's our METAR. The runway is dry. Anti-ice. It's summertime. It's going to be off. Takeoff weight. Ooh. What's that? Takeoff weight is down here. It's not your zero fuel weight. It's 60.9. So 60.9. 60.9. Okay, what is our takeoff CG? This gives you three choices. Forward of less than or greater than. So this, we decided, center of gravity says 23.6. So it's less than 27. It's forward. We're going to flex to takeoff. Configuration 1+F. These are good long runways. Air conditioning. It's summertime. It's hot. I'm going to leave the air conditioning on and now calculate. And there's our flex. There's our speeds. So now we can go and put all of this into the performance page. So performance. Flaps 1. Remember that trim setting that I wrote down? Up 0.8. Up 0.8. There we go. Flex temperature, that was the top line. It's 68 degrees. V1, 131. rotate, 131. And V2 is 133. And all of that looks good. All of that's done. So again, this is a great little application. SimSmart is what it's called. And you can get this, it's a $5 download. I think you pay for it once. And it's really handy, and it works with Airbuses, which is awesome. Okay, so let's go back up here. Passengers are aboard. Let's put them in their seats. So passengers are in their seats. Let's go ahead and disconnect from ground power. The APU is up. We're going to go and turn our fuel pumps on, because I do that now because I always forget. And now let's come on down here, and let's go over to services, and we're going to disconnect the ground power unit. Okay, we're going to disconnect that. I think passengers are aboard. We're ready to go. Jet bridge can go away too. Come on back down to our checklist. Seatbelts are on. ADIRS is nav. Barrel reference has been set. Before start checks. Parking brake is on. Yay, parking brake is on. Takeoff speeds and thrust is set. Windows are closed, and the beacon is going to go on right now. So let's go ahead and do the beacon. The doors are now closed. I'm going to arm the emergency exit lights.
Flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check.
All right, we're good to go here. So all of this is good. There's the before start checks. Let's go back to the little truck here. And now we get to go to pushback. And let's go ahead. The pushback system is off. We're going to turn it on. It's going to give you a warning. And I think that warning has to do with if you've got toolbar pushback. Because toolbar pushback isn't playing nicely with some of the other pushbacks. That's too bad, because toolbar pushback is really cool. All right, so now we got our tug coming out. Airplane is clear. The beacon is on. We're getting ready to do our little pushy thing. And it's going to be a beautiful sunrise flight out of Portland. Normally, the airlines are going to have airplanes ready to go first thing in the morning at the smaller airports, and they'll have like a 6 a.m. departure to come into the bigger hubs, and that way the hubs, they can start doing the hub-to-hub flights with the bigger jets starting around 9 a.m. or so. So that's kind of what we're doing here at the moment. All right, I think we're ready to push back, and this is one of the brilliant things that I think about this particular airplane, pushback truck. So parking brake is going to go off. Parking brake is off. I did that with the Thrustmaster controller. Works great. Okay, we're paused. We're going to unpause pushback. We're now moving, and now you hold the button. So I think you have to hold it. I'm not 100% sure, so you have to keep holding the thing. But what's really neat about this little application, see, it keeps going on and off. So maybe we have to hold it there. But you get to monitor your pushback on the little map up front. So again, I don't know if I'm doing this thing right. So what I've done is I've moved the little slider, and I'm keeping it held down. If you look off to the right there, left there, you can see the little crew line. We're just going to do a straight push behind the crew line. And that matches up perfectly with the map in front of us. I'm releasing my clicker, and it stops. Parking brake is going to go on. I'm going to hit the pause button here and detach the tug. And if we look out here, there goes the tug going away. Come on back in here, and we're going to go and waiting for tug and pin. Now I assume that we're going to need to wait for that thing to do its thing. Bye-bye, tug. Thank you for the push. There's a salute and release from guidance. Let's go ahead and see if we can go and turn the system off. Perfect. And it's still just driving away, so we don't have to worry about that. Cool. Okay, we're good to go there. I'm going to go back to Mr. Checklist here. Mr. Checklist. Okay, so one of the things is the start lever. The starter knob works really well. And so let's look over here. Do we have pneumatic pressure? We do. Starting engine number 2. Yes. Okay, that might be a problem. Now, in the real Airbus, you don't hear the PTU dog barking. Clearly, the PTU dog is having a blast today. Sometimes the PTU sounds really angry. So maybe it's the PTU is just waking up. Nice doggy. You can go and turn that sound off, because I think the reality is in a real world Airbus, the pilots can't hear the PTU. The people in the back, they actually hear the PTU, and it sounds like a real dog. I think the start sounds on this airplane are starting to get better and better. And looks like we're getting a good start on engine number 2. I think we could do engine number 1. So the start levers work really good. The starter knob from start to normal and crank, that might be a problem. Holy cats! We started rolling. My parking brake was on. I did something wrong. I wonder if I didn't have enough brake pressure this morning. I didn't check my brake pressure, so it could be I didn't have brake pressure. Maybe that's the reason why the PTU was going nuts. Maybe you've got to check your brake pressure, and if you don't have the brake pressure, you have to go up here and run the electric pump for a while to, pump up the brakes in the morning. That could be a thing. Well, there's a surprise for us. Generally on these cold and dark videos, if I get surprised like that, I don't edit the video or anything. You need to know that you can recover from things like this, especially if you're in a VATSIM event. Keep going. What could possibly go wrong? And we got a good start there on engine number 1. Let's go on down here, get the starter switch back to normal. And we'll come on up here. We're done with the APU, so bleed can go off. Master switch can go off. We'll look down here, and we're going to go ahead and do control checks. So elevator all the way up, all the way back. Release it like the real pilots. Make sure it goes back to its center position. Left aileron all the way over. And also check your speed brake indicators too. And right aileron all the way over. Make sure it goes back to center. And you do the same thing with the rudder. Look down here. Remember what our trim is. It's up 0.8. So there is, I just set my trim. So it's a small number here, but the trim is now set for takeoff. Come on back here. Predictive wind shear. Reset the rudder trim. This is also when I arm my speed brakes for departure. And after start checks. Anti-ice. It's summertime. It's a heat wave. ECAM status is checked, and it looks pretty good. Pitch trim. We set our pitch trim. Rudder trim is neutral. Checklist is done. So flight controls, we've checked those. Flap settings. We have not set our flap settings. There goes flaps 1 plus F. Always kind of satisfying for a simulator pilot to be able to go back into the cabin and watch the flaps go out. Or watch the leading edge slats go down. Seriously. All right, so that's good. Flaps are set. Radar and predictive wind shear is on. Now, weather radar does not work quite yet, but that's supposed to come out with Sim Update 10. Engine mode selector is normal. ECAM memo is there anything blue? Nope, nothing blue. ECAM memo is clean and green. We're ready for taxi. Shall we turn on the light? So nose light on. Do a cabin call. Let them know that we're going to roll the airplane around. And parking brake is off. Tow brakes are on. Look over here. Nobody's over there. Look over there. Tow brakes are off. Add a little bit of power. Airplane goes back to idle. And out we go. Nose wheel steering is really nice on this airplane. You can see we're going not very fast. Remember, when these airplanes are doing a tight turn like this, maybe add a little bit of power with the opposite engine. But not too fast. Otherwise, you'll start pushing the airplane forward on the nose wheel. And I'm going to guess that the people that, you know, have to change the tires don't like that. Nobody's coming out. See, if we were on VATSIM or Real World, I've neglected to squawk. So squawking. And also to squawk mode Charlie on VATSIM, you also have to turn on the TCAS system, I believe. Some airplanes just motor along perfectly, just, you know, at a thrust idle taxi. Gotta remind, I haven't seen this one yet. Looking at the ECAM checklist, brakes, auto brakes should be at max. Auto brakes are max. There's our taxiway. And going down to 28 right. Let's do the takeoff config check. So takeoff config. And yes, we can confirm that there is no blue. So all that's good. Over on charts. I really like having charts in the electronic flight bag, but when there's other things to do with the electronic flight bag, switching around is not easy. Ooh, check out the windsock. We will have a bit of a crosswind on takeoff today. Ground speed is already up to 20 knots. So my thrust is idle. So this airplane appears to be picking up speed on the taxi there. Okay, coming up to 28 right. So that's pretty good. Takeoff runway, TCAS, PAX. I think we're almost ready to go. Everything looks good here. All the lights are good. All the other lights are out. So lights being good, what I meant by that was the external lights. We've got the beacon, the nav light, and I've got the taxi light. The other lights being out is all the other lights in the upper panel. If all the lights are out, there are no problems. If there's a light on, then there's a problem. It is 13:44 Zulu. We were supposed to be out of the gate by 13:35. So pretty much, you know, if you give yourself about 35 to 40 minutes to get your airplane ready to go, with normal boarding and normal fueling, you can get it all done and get an on-time departure. So around 35 to 40 minutes is what you should plan for. Now, again, you can see we're picking up speed. It's already 26 knots. So, little on the fast side. Gotta say, really do like this airplane. It looks so nice. I do have an old vintage United livery. I kind of like some of the older liveries. And in this case, you know, the tulip was their better logo. Sorry, Continental fans. Okay, coming on up to our takeoff point. Yeah, we definitely have a little breeze this morning. So takeoff runway is confirmed. TCAS is on. Pack 1 and 2 is going to be on. Lineup is good. That's it. We're good to go. Tower is just called. We are cleared to line up and wait. So strobe's going on. And this is when I will also... The landing lights on this airplane, remember they come down from under the wing. So I just did one click on the landing lights. They're not on. They're very bright. You don't want to blind anybody that's out here. Maybe an airplane on final or something. So landing lights are the last thing to go on. And the tower just called again and said, clear for takeoff. Runway 28 right. So we're getting ready to line up here. And as we line up, that's pretty good. Landing lights going on.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
And that looks good too. Shall we go? Throttles up. I usually run my throttles forward to about the little halfway mark here and watch the throttles, the engine spool up. So we'll call engine stable. And now it's manual flex. SRS is set. Auto thrust is blue. Runway is not set. I probably did something wrong. Steering with rudder pedals. Remember, we've got a crosswind. Hundred knots checked. V1. Rotate. One of the things that I really wish that developers would put in is airspeed callouts for takeoff. Positive rate of climb, landing gear going up. There goes our landing gear. So long, Portland. Beautiful day. We'll be back. And how we climbing? We're doing pretty good there. Nose coming down, okay. That's looking pretty good. Flight directors are centered. And push the nose down a little bit more. Okay, there's lever climb. Thrust climb. Push the nose a little more. Speed's coming up. Bit of a gentle turn over to peg T. Now we also have terrain radar. So one of the pilots is supposed to be watching terrain radar. And center that up a little bit more. And let's go over here and hit AP1. AP just took us. We're good to go there. Speed still coming up. There's the S for raising flaps and slats. There's our nice gentle turn. And a nice day in Portland. Okay, coming up on the S. Excuse me, allergies are still a problem. Here come our leading edge slats. Speed's coming up nicely. There's 4,000 feet. See, we should have done constraints to see if there's any departure constraints. We would have also, if we'd been good pilots, I would have read the departure a little bit better. One of the stories that I kind of like to tell, and you know, a lot these days, is I'm not one of those that's been able to get out very much. And so one of my favorite things to do is walk down a jetway, get on an airplane, go someplace. That's fun. Haven't been able to do that very much. So there are people that are doing really nice videos over on YouTube of complete flights, and I've been enjoying those quite a bit. And one day I was watching a YouTube video of, I think it was a CRJ flight, and like most of the people that make those videos, they take a camera, they have a suction cup, they put it in the window and just roll video. And so they had a view very much like this, okay? And as I was watching that, I looked at the video, I says, wow, that looks like Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then I kind of stopped myself and, wait a minute, that's real world. And I just sort of like, oh wow. That's how good the scenery is as we do these kinds of flights. It's just amazing. Okay, we're kind of getting out of the area here. Zoom the map out just a little bit. I think we're done with constraints. I'm going to get airports on. 10,000 feet, landing lights can go off. The nose light can go off, and then a double cabin call. That lets cabin crew know that we're at 10,000 feet. Sterile cockpit is done. This is usually when the cabin crew gets on there and says, hey, the seatbelt sign's still on, you can't get up. And just absolutely amazing view outside. Look back and see the airport and sunrise. See Mount Hood in the in the distance there. So you get to see the really, really cool, dormant volcanoes, which we hope stay that way. Terrain radar's looking good. I usually go and click this up to about 40 miles. And passing 12,000 feet. Next checklist is going to be approach checklist. So approach checklist is next. So we can probably go, let's go to the map page. And I will go to pinned charts at this point. And what do we have? We have the San Francisco Star, approach, taxi, and gates. We're in really good shape here. So we can come and look at our SID. And let's see, we're probably outside. Oh, there we are. There we are. So we just passed Dirty. And there's Mini and nothing really else. So not bad. Nice departure. If we were on VATSIM, this is an incredibly cool little option, which I've got to tell you, really makes me want to take this on VATSIM events. And what I can do with this, so look over here at the radio. So let's go ahead and flip this over to 121.95. Unicom is 122.8. You can set standby or active. Watch what happens. Hit set active. And look at that, 122.8. If we were on VATSIM and there was tower, ATIS, departure, or whatever, all of that would show up in that part. And all you do is click it, set active. So one of the cool things that you can do with that is in a VATSIM event, you're busy as hell, and they're saying, okay, United 441, contact tower at 122.8. You can just come over here and hit tower and set active, and holy moly, is that going to be nice when you're busy and there's not a lot of time to make mistakes. Okay, there's 18,000 feet, standard altimeter, and standard altimeter on the backup. Ground spoilers, we should have turned those off. And this looks good. Seat belts and no smoking are good. It's a nice, smooth morning, so we're going to do another cabin call and just a chime. Let the cabin crew know that, hey, they can get out of their seats and go and do flight attendant stuff. You know, make sure the coffee's still hot, start getting the carts ready for, pretzels and anything but Diet Coke. Apparently, Diet Coke is the one thing that's the hardest to pour at altitude in an airplane. So I usually bring my own cup of coffee. I usually back when I got to travel, I would do morning flights, so I would just bring my own cup of coffee. Of course, in United, you definitely want the Stroop waffle. So, and I believe you can order them now on Amazon. So if you want to get that United experience, you can order Stroop waffles at home. You know, put it on your coffee cup and sort of like, oh, okay, this is cool. I can, remember what it was like. Passing 22,000 feet. Our climb is looking particularly good. I believe that the two McDo's are still attached to each other, so you can't have separate McDo's right now. That's okay at the moment. I don't miss that much. It's not that big of a deal. Again, though, I think that the electronic flight bag here is just really, really good. The one over on the Phoenix is amazing. This one is really close. Really getting close and closer and closer, and I'm absolutely amazed at what the crew from Fly By Wire has done. Probably one of the biggest questions that people ask me over on the Spy Flight on Twitch is, hey, when do you hear the A380 is coming out? And yes, the Fly By Wire people are working on an Airbus A380. They're working on this first. They're doing this all volunteer, so the developers, I mean, this is free. So they haven't had time to get the A380 together yet, but I would keep my eye out. Maybe this time next year. I know that's a long time to wait in flight sim, but there you go. Over on the flight plan, I didn't clear a route discontinuity. Bad pilot. I should have gone through my list of checkpoints. How we doing here? So we're looking good on this. We can go over to the fuel prediction page, and at San Francisco, it's saying we should have 3.1 tons of fuel. Remember over here on the flight plan, there is this thing that says FinRes and Alton. It's down here kind of at the bottom. That's final reserve fuel and alternate. So that says 2.1. I boarded an extra 40 minutes of fuel today. Generally, I'm boarding a little bit more fuel just for APU time and hold time, especially if I'm on VATSIM. But we're going to be well above the final reserve fuel, it says. So that's 3.1. We're like a ton heavier. So we got plenty of fuel, and there's no reason to worry about that. Over on the progress page, flight level 390, progress is looking rather progressive. I usually leave this on the performance page. That way I'm going to get time to top of climb. They are starting to put top of descent in here too, so that's really helpful. And we can go now up to the 80-mile range. And there is, so there it is at 60 miles. There's a top of climb hockey stick. And there we go. We have a nice view outside the window. Absolutely outstanding. I actually like that one better. This one's pretty good. You can kind of sit back in your seat and look ahead like this. One of the things that I will do in the morning, if I'm not doing, a live stream and it's a quiet morning, I'll go and fire up the flight simulator, get the autopilot going, and just leave the camera, set something like this, go make breakfast and come back. It's just a nice little way to spend the morning, especially if you're a nav geek and you're not getting to go flying around like you'd like to. Everything else I think is pretty good. We're passing 29,000 feet. It's nice and smooth. As a sim captain, I like to take pity and have mercy on my passengers. Seatbelts going off. There's no chop or anything like that. It's the morning. Usually some people will tank up on the coffee and they're sitting back there going, when are you going to turn the seatbelt sign off? I've got to go. You only make that mistake once, by the way. Only once. I did it once and it was terrible because it was a particularly bouncy flight. So it took a long time before that seatbelt sign came off, and I never do that again. So your safety tip for today, for the real world, is get the grande and not the venti. Seriously, that was just a bad day. Here's another little safety tip for you. If you are going to be flying on VATSIM, you recognize this. This is Microsoft's little volume mixer. Okay, this is really super duper handy. So I like this so much. I actually have a shortcut to the volume mixer on the toolbar. on the Windows toolbar, so I can get to it like that. And here's the reason why. If you're on VATSIM, right now I've got the airplane set and it's really nice, but another tab that would be here would be XPilot or VPilot. And there are some controllers on VATSIM who talk very, very quietly, and you can't hear them. They talk too quietly. You can't freaking hear them. So what you can do is you can use the volume to amp up the volume of XPilot or VPilot, or more importantly, you can just drop down the volume of the airplane. And so if you've got a really quiet, soft-spoken controller, you can go and turn that down so you can hear them. So that's a real nice little application. Again, I had it pinned to my toolbar. Little task, the toolbar at the bottom of the Windows page. Wow, has that saved me a few times. Beyond that, the only thing that I would be doing at this point in time, if we were not flying in the US, I would come over here and go KSFO. I would be doing my arrival airport and just taking a look and see. Take a look. We're going to be on 28 right. I want to see what the winds are going to be doing. This is a link in the description for METAR TAF. If you're new to flight sim, this is a great tool for being able to visualize the weather, particularly what the wind is going to do to you. But the other thing is it's also going to show you this. This is the METAR. This is this is airplane weather. Okay, so this is pilot weather, and you're going to be able to start seeing. So here's a number here, 29009 KT. That's winds. Winds are 290. So there's the arrow, 290 at 9 knots. So you're able to go and visualize. So we've got a few clouds at 400 feet. There's a few clouds at 400 feet. That's probably the morning fog in San Francisco burning off. And then broken clouds at 15,000 feet. You can visualize the clouds. You see what the visibility is. See where it says 10 SM? No. It isn't that kind of SM. It's 10 statute miles. Visibility. So this is a great tool for being able to visualize and start learning how to decode the mysterious METARs. If I'm in the United States, I'll come over here to METAR TAF, and I will go down to KSFO and click on it. And San Francisco, Information Gulf. That's the same weather information that we saw here. Altimeter 3001, altimeter, it's the same weather information, but this is sort of the way it would print out. And you know, airplanes have printers up front. This is what it would look like. And what this is telling us, simultaneous charted visual procedures in use, okay? Landing runways 28 left, 28 right, departing 1 left and 1 right. We are currently set to land on 28 right. So now we know what the real world is doing, and 90% of the time, VATSIM does what the real world is doing. So this is a really great tool for VATSIM events. So at this point in my flight thing, you know, the way I do my flights is I'm starting to take a look at what's happening with the arrivals. You know, is there a change that I need to make in my flight plan down here? Do I need to get different charts? Did they switch runways? Because this is a two-person cockpit. It's meant for 2 people to do all this work, but we're just 1 person in here, unless you're doing shared cockpit. And not many of us are doing that. So if you can stay really far ahead, that way you are so well prepared for a big VATSIM event. Okay, coming up, we're going to hear the horn in about another 100 feet or so. Oh, wait a minute. This is Airbus. I don't think we get that. Everything's good up here. Seatbelts are off. No smoking's on. Lights are where they're supposed to be. We're about ready to hit our final cruising altitude. Now, I don't think that we get the top of descent that you normally get in an Airbus down here in the McDo. But what you will get is a top of descent hockey stick. So they're slowly working on getting top of descent stuff set up here, and it's really getting pretty good. So if you're flying along with me, right now we are on the 80-mile range map here. So when my top of descent hockey stick starts to show up here before 60 miles, that's when I'm going to restart the video. Rather than just sit here and listen to me rattle on and on, I'm going to go over to the Spy kitchen and make breakfast and come back on over here. And so when that hockey stick starts to show up in the 60 mile, that's when you ought to start turning on. And you can go ahead and click this up a little bit. Okay, it's not showing on the big range here. Let's turn off airports. Let's turn this up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
look at that.
The flight deck, your captain speaking. We've just reached our cruising altitude for the flight. As it begins to settle in, I do want to remind you to please keep your feet and elbows clear from the aisle, as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley carts shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating to the front galley where the flight deck door is located. Thank you.
Okay, so there it is. There is our top of descent hockey stick at Melback. It's well over 240 miles away. Like I said, it's not showing up here in the McDo yet, like it will in the real Airbus, but give it time. So we're going to monitor this right here. You can see the coast showing up really nicely. And we can look out the window and have a nice breakfast and have a really, really nice morning flight. And with all the crazy that's going on in the world and everything else, I got to tell you, this is one of the reasons why I really, really appreciate Microsoft Flight Simulator right now for opening up this world, and developers like Fly By Wire for giving us these incredible jets. See you when we get to between 80 and 60 miles from top of descent. Hit pause now. See you soon. Hey, welcome back. So, nice cabin views. Clouds seem to be thickening up just a little bit as we get closer to San Francisco. And as predicted, we're right around 60 miles from top of descent here. So, and let's see, it wants some destination data. How about that? So the next thing that I'm going to do is let's go back on over here. We could use either METAR TAF or Digital ATIS. I'm going to hit the refresh button on Digital ATIS just to see, did the runways change? No, runways didn't change. Let's go ahead and use the one that works all around the world, refresh METAR TAF. And the latest METAR shows the altimeter has dropped a little bit. It's now 3001. So that changed from the last note that I had. Winds are 290 at 9-10 miles visibility. A few clouds here and there, so let's go and do the destination data. And we go to the performance page and go next phase and next phase. Altimeter 3001. So 3001. There's our QNH. Sorry, allergies are starting to get bad, and I really want to do today without a allergy pill. Temperature in San Francisco is 16 degrees. 16 degrees, winds right now are 290 at 9, 290. Whoops, you got to hit the 2 before the 9. 290 at 09. And that looks good. The Barrow, so we find that on our charts. I'm just going to go over here. This is faster. I really like having charts available in the electronic flight bag, but this is just a little faster for me. Category 1 landing, let's see, it's going to be 213 feet. So 213. There's 213 feet, and all that looks good. Back to the performance page. And minimize that, and that looks good too. And we are at 40 miles out, so descent. Let's go ahead and instead of using the charts there, we'll use the charts over here. So here's the charts page. Let's go to pinned charts, it's easier. San Francisco Star, this is our arrival, Bodega. What do we have here? Coming in at Amaker, I think that's ours. No, it's Melback. Above flight level 290. We've got a hard altitude here at Cork and Bricks, and that's going to be 11,000 feet. So ATC just got online and said we are clear to descend on the Bodega 3, arrival at pilot's discretion. And they'll probably also say that San Francisco is landing on the 28s and maybe give us an altimeter, so we look at our chart and see, That means we are clear to go down to 11,000 feet. So we're good to go with that. And now we're just waiting for the little top of descent hockey stick to show up here. VNAV is working pretty good on this airplane, I found. There's still an occasional bug, and that's in case there's a problem with the flight plan, or it's when, you know, there's some stars out there that are a little on the sloppy side, and hey, maybe it'd be good if I turned on the camera too. Sorry. Usually I've been leaving the camera off for, you know, some of the shots, but okay, hi. Anyway, so, you know, some of the stars are not designed really well for, you know, modern jets or something. So it can, VNAV can, I think the best word that I would come up with, it can get tangled up a little bit. But by and large, this thing is getting really, really good. Excuse me. Allergies, they suck. Okay, so we are coming up on about 35 miles. Again, we're not getting an indicator in here, so I don't think I expect that one right now. Nothing else to really do here. We could have played with the printer on the flight, but I don't think we got to worry about that. Since we're getting a little bit closer, some pilots will pop online and say, you know, hey folks, we are currently, let's see, that's going to be the flight plan page. Hey folks, Captain speaking. We're currently 140 miles north of San Francisco International Airport. San Francisco weather right now is looking pretty good. There's a little breeze out of the west at 9 knots, a few clouds here and there. Okay, it says 16 degrees. Well, if this is an American airline, then we got to go, okay, 16 degrees. I've got a little cheat sheet down here. So right now it's about, wow, 15 degrees. Kind of cool there. No, not 58 degrees. So 61 or 62. I can read my own little cheat sheets here. So yeah, it's about 62 degrees in San Francisco. Looks like we probably got about another 30 minutes of flying time. We'll be starting our descent soon. You know, anybody that needs to go to the bathroom, now's a great time. Please don't everybody do it at once, as it makes the airplane tip uncomfortably, and some of the other passengers don't like that very much. Certainly has been our pleasure having you fly with us today, and it's been so nice of you to fly along with me here on YouTube. The support that I've been getting lately over on Twitch is absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful. After, you know, layoffs and stuff like that, this is how I pay the bills, and I'm so grateful for the support. I'm still new here on YouTube. If you like what you see, want to do some support, I do want to say another big thank you to supporters on Ko-fi and Patreon. If you don't do either of those, one of the things you could do is just come on over to Twitch and fly along with us. We fly every day, Tuesday through Sunday at 1900 Zulu. That's 3 o'clock Eastern time during daylight savings time. And you're always welcome to fly, and if you like it and you want to, subscriptions are really appreciated too. And enough of those questions. Enough of those commercials. Let's fly. Like I said, I think the clouds are definitely thickening up just a little bit as we get into San Francisco. Over here, we can go to the map and see where we are. One of the things that I really do like about Flight Sim is you can be a little bit of a tourist. So we got Clear Lake coming up here. So did we see Clear Lake up here? Well, look at that. Hi, Clear Lake. Let's see. Off to the right, we should see a town called Ukiah. And look at that. There is a town out there. There's Ukiah. I hope that's how they pronounce it. So anyway, like I said, that is one of the really neat things that I've been enjoying about Microsoft Flight Simulator is the scenery is so amazing. You really do get to be a little bit of an airplane tourist like this. And it's fun to go and just get in the sim airplane and go and look around and see the cool stuff. Gonna go over Santa Rosa and other interesting things. On the approach here, we'll see a very nice view, unless the clouds are too low, of the Golden Gate Bridge. You'll see Alcatraz. You'll see the Bay Bridge. The downtown area is really nicely modeled in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So, that's really nice. We fly almost right over the airport. So that's kind of a cool view. Really interesting views here in the sim. Now, we're getting closer here. I don't have on performance like a 321, for mileage. So I go ahead and I'm going to just drop this down to 10 miles. We're within 5 miles of top of descent. There's probably 2.5 miles right there. So as it gets closer and closer and closer, I generally find that if I can press the button, like let's do it now, so we're going to make manage descent. There's manage descent. If I do that right now, that way we kind of stay ahead of the donut, or the little the green dot. Green dot speed is over here. That's when you can start throwing out your flaps. The little dot here, though, that's they call that the donut. Some of them, although technically this looks more like a donut than this one, but okay, whatever. And eventually we're going to catch up with our descent.
As you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare for our approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for a ride.
Again, I'm mocking the announcements and stuff, but you can turn those off in settings. Now, this is a little line. I'm sure that there is a technical term for it, and I'm using the wrong one. See, here's our airplane at Melbeck. Here's Johnny. This is what I call the squiggly. Okay? I'm sure there's another technical term, but I call it the squiggly. And that little line there, that is when we will intercept our descent path. So if you look over here, you can see the donut is slowly creeping up here. And the goal is to have the donut right here on the little yellow line on the altitude tape. And that should happen. This should line up right here when we reach the squiggly. So again, I don't know that I'm sure Airbus has a better term than squiggly. But there you go. So we're 20 miles away from intercepting the squiggly, and I think that that's good enough. At this point, we are on a descent, so I'm going to hit the constraints button, take it out of airport mode. So it's either or, airports or constraints. I want to make sure that we're actually staying within the constraints that we're supposed to be at. So here at Johnny, we're supposed to be below flight level 280 and above flight level 240. Our speed is supposed to be 280 knots. And judging from where we are here, I think we're going to hit that just fine. The airplane is picking up a little bit of speed here. So, if you start getting close to the top of the range of speeds here, you might need to throw out some speed brakes. The airplane is, I don't think we need to at the moment. We're going to catch up with the squiggly, and we're not going to go too fast. So I think all that's good. Approaching 31,000 feet here. Everything else is looking really good. We've already entered in our arrival data. We don't have to set the ILS. We don't have to set the inbound course. One thing to do, though, is go over to the radio nav page and take a look and see landing system is set to India Golf Whiskey Quebec. Go to your charts, go to your ILS, and India Golf Whiskey Quebec. You could also check the inbound course, which is 284, and the frequency 111.7. 284 is the inbound course, 111.7. The airplane is already searching and currently set up for the ILS that we've set. So very smart airplane. It's already going and doing what it is that it's supposed to do. And as you can see, here we are at Johnny. The donut is pretty much centered up here, and the squiggly has gone away. So unfortunately, at this point in time, I have no further need to say the word squiggly on YouTube. And we're right where we're supposed to be as far as altitudes. So that's pretty good. Let's go on over here. Remember the checklist? So there is approach. Baro ref. Okay, we haven't, no reason to do this yet. The next thing that we can start doing it at 18,000 feet. So the next thing that I usually do is, as we are continuing our descent, unless we are in an area of turbulence, I turn on the seatbelt sign around 25,000 feet. I'm sure that some airlines have policies that know you start your, seatbelts at top of descent. Some airlines say, it's whatever the captain wants. So in my case, 25,000 feet, that's that way in case someone, had too much coffee. Let's not make them suffer too much. I mean, they've already had to put up with my jokes. I think that's suffering enough. There was an Airbus flight that I took a long time ago, and I'd always been kind of dialed in at the time as to, which airlines were in which towns, and even knew a couple of the CEOs of some of the airlines. And so it was an Airbus flight from Chicago to Dulles. We're coming into the gate at Dulles, and as we stop at the gate, the engines go off, seatbelt sign goes off. The captain, who has been an absolute comedy club the entire flight, gets on and said, well, folks, from the flight deck, as some of you know, by looking at your watch, we have arrived at the gate 6 minutes late. As you know, here at United, we try to keep on time all the time. And for those of you, especially business travelers, that are sensitive to 6 minutes, we do apologize. If that apology isn't enough, please feel free to write a letter to my boss. And he gave a name and a city that was not the president of United, it was the president of US Air. And a couple of people in the cabin go, that was good. That was good. And everybody else just, I think blew it off. But there were a few people that knew that the captain was giving out the name and the address of the CEO of the competition. So I know, maybe my sense of humor is a little twisted. That flight was also, by the way, the first time I heard the fed up joke. You heard the fed up joke before? Okay, so you heard about all these rumors in the airlines. Well, there's one rumor that is not going to happen. There was a rumor that Federal Express and UPS are not going to merge because the boards of directors discovered that the name of the new company would be Fed Up. And that was the first time I ever heard the fed up joke. Oops, I thought that's the drum, the little brooch. Over on the live stream, that button right there was that, and that's YouTube music over here on when I'm producing YouTube. I was about ready to do the silly drums. That one was actually kind of a good one. Like I said, that captain was absolutely hilarious. It was a comedy club the whole flight. I think he even did a modified snakes in a plane joke too. So, okay, seatbelts are on. Coming up on 21,000 feet. Anything to see out there? Not quite yet. I'm starting to see what might be a little Pacific Ocean there and a little coast. Clouds are looking like it's going to be kind of cloudy coming in though. Let's see, the current time, it is 14:57 Zulu. So we're flying real world time. So you know what we really ought to do? Come back over here to meet our TAF. This happened at 13:56 Zulu. Let's hit recycle or refresh. And it still says 13:56 Zulu right here. So METAR TAF still has the old weather. Let's go to Digital ATIS. My last Digital ATIS is Information Hotel at 13:56. Let's recycle that one. Refresh it. Oh, look at this, 14:56, brand new, Information India. It is raining in San Francisco. Altimeter is still 3001. So I'm gonna copy this into my notes and let's slide this over here and see if we need to update anything down here. So go to next, 3001, that's currently good. The temperature in San Francisco is still 16 degrees. The winds are 290 at 9. That's all the same. So none of this changed, but we did get an updated ATIS. We also, looking over there, 28 left, 28 right, still good runways for landing. So we're good. Coming up on 18,000 feet, time to reset the altimeter, 3001. So press that button, and 3001 sets the co-pilot for me. But if I want, I have to set up my backup altimeter, So press the STD button. And 3001. Okay, there's 3001. Altimeters are checked and set. We can go to the checklist. Barrel ref has been set. Seatbelts are on. Minimums are good. Auto brakes. Let's go ahead and set our auto brakes. Let's go medium today. San Francisco's busy. We want to get off the runway. Engine mode selector, it's going to be normal. And there's the approach checklist. Next is going to be landing. And all we got to do is have the ECAM memo clean and green. And so that's the ECAM checklist that's going to pop up in there. Absolutely outstanding. Here's our approach. There's the airport. And there's bricks. And then we're going to come out via Eddy. I usually have found that when we come in on this approach, we're going to need to vector ourselves out a little bit after bricks so that we can make a little bit cleaner turn at Eddy. Also, there's hills, so you want to watch out for those hills too. So you don't want to descend too fast. Nice view of the bay coming up here. So as I mentioned, the cabin on this airplane is not completely modeled. So the only thing that's modeled here is this little box around here that you can go and set up. They did model the cargo containers down here, so that's really pretty good. They've also modeled the landing gear wells. So let's see, let's go like this. And yeah, there's the landing gear. So there's wheels. They did model that. That's pretty cool. Hopefully, eventually they will do that. I think when it comes to simulating airliners and stuff like that in the sim, it's kind of a good thing to do. And our speed is now going down to 280 knots. That's where we're supposed to be. We are going to do another slowdown at Cork to 250, and the airplane's handling it. We are below 13,000 feet here at Bodega. We were right on the altitude that we're supposed to be at. Temperature outside the airplane is, so let's see, total air temperature is 19 degrees. Static is 4. I don't think we need anti-ice to come in today. We're well above that. Okay, we're starting to get away from the donut here. So maybe what we really ought to do is just a touch of speed brake here. Just a touch of speed brake here. The airplane's trying to slow down anyway so that we can be at 250 knots. We're going to be a little high at Cork, so a little speed brake was probably good. We still have 2 miles to go to Cork, so we still can make that constraint. We can throw out a second notch of speed brake. That'll help slow us down even more, and we'll descend faster. So we'll hit 11,000 feet at Cork. And do we have more speed brake? Oh, we sure do. That was pretty close. And we're now in the clouds at about the time that we'd really like to be looking out and seeing if we could see the Golden Gate Bridge. Easy for me to say. But no. Okay, so we're 11,000 feet. That's good. Now, we do have some hills that we have to watch out for. So coming in on the approach, we're going to come out here. There's bricks, and we're going to exit heading 140 degrees. So 140 degrees at bricks, but coming in on this ILS. So here there's 2,000 feet here as we come into Eddy. So as we come over here, we're coming right over the airport. We'll go out this way. It says mandatory 6,000 feet at Eddy. So after we make the turn, we can go and do a mandatory 6,000 feet. And I think that the airplane is going to turn us on that heading of 140. Yeah, pretty close once we get to bricks. So this thing is handling the descent absolutely perfect. Nice view of water out there. And scratches and dirt on the windshield. Nothing to see over San Francisco. a mile away from bricks. Might have noticed when you get in the clouds, it's kind of hard to read the tape, the numbers. So if you just drop the brightness down a little bit, then you're able to read the numbers. But because it's daylight, sometimes you have to adjust those. And now it's going to try and do some sort of a speed up, so there was a problem there. I think let's see, what we're supposed to have, 280 at Lose It, 250. But it was trying to do a really big speed up, it looked like. And we're heading 140. Let's descend and maintain 6,000 for Eddie. So 6,000, we're going to make it just an open descent right now. And down we go to Eddie. So there's 140 knots. Next is going to be the ILS. So here we are coming out here. There's Eddie. And you see we also have mandatory 6,000 feet and 240 knots. So we got a little slowdown to do. And actually, I would suggest even a little bit slower as you come around there at that 240. It's kind of a tight turn. I might do 210 around the corner here. It's 10,000 feet. I say landing lights. So 2 clicks. And preset the nose light so it'll go on when the nose wheel comes out. And cabin call for 10,000 feet. Again, it's a two chimes, at least on United. I didn't hear the second chime. So sterile cockpit, and now I'm going to go ahead and do 210. So airplane's going to slow it down so that we can make our little turn to Eddie here. And there's 210. Speed's going down. You can see the little yellow arrow there. So it is slowing down. So it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little thing here, and I call these the hash marks. So squigglies and hash marks. So you see the 2 little gold lines on either side of that part of the speed tape, and you see the little green dot down here. This, I believe, is when it's safe to start flaps. This is when you kind of do it, but this is a safe place to do that. So if you need to get some flaps out before the little dot, wait for the 2 little gold hash marks, and that should work for you. We're well below them, so let's do leading edge slats and flaps 1. Okay, I'm going to do another click of the map to 10 miles. And there's Eddie. We have, let's go ahead and take control of our heading. There's control of our heading, and like I said, I usually like to go out about 10 degrees to give myself a little bit of room. Of course, if we're on VATSIM, we're not in ATC, then I'm probably going to, not do this. But if it's just me, hey, let's give ourselves a little bit of breathing room to make a nice gentle turn to Eddie. One of the things to be prepared for is ATC is going to probably move you, ahead and make you, move you forward and move you back in the line of airplanes, especially if it's a VATSIM event and it's a busy day in the neighborhood. Hey, look at that. A break in the clouds. We see a little bit of trees there. How about that? Some scenery coming in today. Okay, everything looks good here. All the lights are good. Cabin signs are set. Nothing else to really worry about in the upper panel. Probably noticed on things like over on Twitch, they've got a couple of commands that generally they'll do for called stretch and posture check for people that are doing long-term gaming. For flight simmers, this is a good time if you get comfortable in your chair. Make sure that your chair's back so that you can get your feet on the rudder pedals. You can reach your controls. Sometimes things move around. All right, I think that's good. Let's go down here and roll this around, and we're going to go direct, turn us around to Eddie. And another great example of the wonderful scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Captain Sarcastic in the cockpit today. No, I'm not whining seriously. We've got low clouds. The scenery is absolutely amazing. Okay, we're kind of wheeling it around here. As we continue, one of the things you could do with the turn is go to Flight Plan or Direct To and go Direct to Eddie. And go Direct To, and it will continue your turn right to Eddie. So that's a little time saver. You can see we've already gone back to managed here. And there's Eddie. Now you may have to do a second turn because this thing's going to try an S turn to get you back over here on that flight path. So you might have to do a second Direct To as you come around. Otherwise it's going to, you know, swerve back and forth, and then you're going to run out of space. So go back to Direct to another Eddie, and that'll be from that point. And a way to avoid all of that is continue your turn, be direct, you know, with manual, you know, heading, and then hit the button. Okay, after Eddie, it's Sidby. After Sidby, it's 3,000 at Seppen. So our next altitude is going to be 3,000 at Seppen. We'll do that after Eddie. 210 knots. This is really nice. I think everything's good. Oh, wow, look at that. We can see through some clouds. Can't see anything much over on that side. Good to see that the wing is still attached. That's a good sign. Let's go and widen that out a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and let the airplane manage us down to 3,000 feet. So that's going to keep us right on the proper descent path. We're not going to speed up too much. And we're looking pretty good. Somewhere before Seppen, ATC is going to call up and say, maintain 3,000 feet until established, clear for the ILS runway 28 right, maintain 180 knots to Axmal. So that's going to basically tell us that we have to be 180 knots or faster. This is when we get to slow down to our landing speed. So at this point in time, we're going to descend and maintain 3,000. We're clear for the ILS. Clear for the ILS, a great way to remember that you're cleared is turn on the LS button. Nice little descent here. We might be a little bit high here. Yeah, you can see we just picked up glide slope. But the airplane seems to be smart enough to realize we're high because it's increasing our descent rate. So that maybe we'll catch up to it. It's always nice to see that the plane's smarter than I am. Yep, still not a lot to see out there. Oh, look at that. We can see a little bit of water. This point in time, make sure your chair is not going to tilt back when you put your feet on your rudder pedals, because that will be very embarrassing and it causes problems. Okay, that little diamond is not doing a... Okay, it's slowly creeping up there. At Axmal, we're supposed to be at 1,800. I don't think we're descending fast enough. Let's go ahead and add a couple clicks of speed brake, see if we descend faster. Because you generally want to be a little bit below the glide slope to intercept. So if the glide slope's up above you and you intercept, that's a better way to do it. And coming around, let's go ahead, arm the approach. I think we're good to do that. Get a little help from the autopilot. Okay, localizer is set. There's a box around glide slope. There's stars by both of these. That means that it's working. We're capturing glide slope and localizer. Let's go ahead and bring that map back down to 10 miles. 180 knots to Axmal. So 180 knots. So we get to do a little slow it down thing here. Are we below those hash marks? No, we're not. But the airplane is slowing down. I still have speed brake out at the moment.
2,500.
We are 7 miles. Go down to the performance page. Make sure that performance is on the approach page. How about landing gear? Gear's going down. That'll add a little drag. That's going to slow us down a bit. And it's going to make the dogs bark too.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Okay, we can go and do another notch of flaps. And let's go ahead and do manage speed. Slow it down even more for landing. Outer marker. Again, letting the airplane do some of the work right now. Flaps 3. Do we see the airport? We do, but it's still a little bit fuzzy there, and it could get worse, so I generally will wait until I can really clearly see the runway and don't think it's going to disappear. Flaps 4. Do a cabin call. And the ECAM checklist. Speed brakes need to be armed. Speed brakes are armed. ECAM checklist is green. ECAM is good. Sit back here. Can we reach the rudder pedals? We can. The stick, we can. The throttles, great. Last thing I do before I turn off the autopilot, look and see what the wind is. Got a little gentle breeze
1,000.
ahead and to the left. AP is off. Again, Airbus, don't need to touch anything really after turning off the autopilot. Over on the Boeing, you kind of have to. But we're just trimmed up pretty nice. Okay, getting a little low, so we'll pull gently back on the stick a bit. So reduce our rate of descent. We're still lined up on the runway. One of the things that I'm really learning to do on this airplane is not over control. Just very small movements on the stick just seems to be absolutely perfect. We're still on glide slopes, still on localizer. Looking good.
500.
Still a little low. Might need to pull back again. Not getting blown off too much.
400.
Okay, over on my map page, I usually come over here, set it up here so that I immediately see where I am because we're going to be busy going to ground. Now we're a little high. Story of my life, high and fast.
300.
Not that kind of
100
high.
above.
It's like a beautiful day in the neighborhood in San Francisco.
200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Wow. Did we really land that hard? Wonder what the landing rate was on that one. Auto brakes off. How really would that sounded terrible. My landing rate was 199. It sounded like we broke things. This is a really overdramatic airplane. Okay, we are looking for, looks like we're getting off on the Tango. There's Tango right there. Manual braking. Speed brakes down, flaps up, off the runway. Gentle turn off. After Tango, we're going to look for the hard left after this to get to our gate. Again, I found the gate from FlightAware, so we should be able to get right to the gate. I already know where it is. It is Echo 6. Echo 6 is right in there. See, off the runway, we need to do landing lights, strobes, slide over here, master switch, APU, get back in the center line here. Okay, so instead of continuing on this taxiway, we're going to make a harder turn, and I can see that right over there. Even in multiplayer, if I can, I will have a look outside, make sure I'm not going to cut anybody off in multiplayer. VATSIM, yeah, you don't cross in front of anybody. Okay, so instead of continuing straight, this should be Delta. Straight across. There it is. And this should put us right into our gate area. Switching over to the gate parking. And Echo 6 is one from the end, one from the closest end. Add just a little bit of power. See, it stops us or something. So sometimes the airplane stops, sometimes they go. Add a little bit of power. Okay, and for this one, we want to be on the east. Okay, so there is East 12. We don't want East 12. We want the one right next to us. That would have taken us into the gate. And again, see, all of a sudden it's stopped again. Maybe I've got hot brakes or something. But, you know, going out of Portland, you just couldn't, you know, I had to stand on the brakes, and now we can't even idle in, so clearly. Okay, coming on in, there is 10 uniform. Okay, there's 8. We need Echo 6. There's Echo 6. How about that? It's even numbered correctly. And Echo 6, in we go here. There's our gate. And look at that, we stopped again. Do I have auto brakes? I don't have anything set. So either I'm doing something wrong or something's not right. And I don't think it's the airplane, because it was the same with the PMDG 737 yesterday. Now, the best thing you can do on this is just sort of eyeball your way in. A lot of airports don't have gate guidance going in. Taxi light goes off. No harm in going outside your airplane to guide yourself in. And there we go. See, it stopped again. And then you just have to floor it. It's like there's some little glue or something. So we're hitting patches of super glue. Look at that. So you see my engines? Just tap the brakes and then you see how it took off? Something's weird about that. I don't know what it is, but that's not right. Parking brakes going on. There's parking brakes on. Okay, and APU is up. So engine number 2. Engine number 1. Let's go up here. We'll get the APU bleed going. Emergency exit lights, seat belts. We'll also do the beacon going off too. Come on up here. We'll do pumps. And fuel pumps are off. External power is already available, so we can kick in external power. So that's good. We'll come down here. After landing, radar and predictive wind shear. I should have turned that off on the taxi. So radar and predictive wind shear. Parking brake and shocks. Engines, wing lights, and fuel pumps. Come back here to the little car here. Services. Let's go ahead and get, well, ground power is already plugged in. So I'm not going to hit that button because I already have ground power. Let's call a jet bridge. Here comes our jet bridge. That's going to go ahead and get the airplane for us. And we are, it'll open the door. So that takes care of that. There's a little bit more of a process with the PMDG and also with the Phoenix to loading and unloading, but this is pretty good. And we can come out here, have a quick look. San Francisco Airport is really nice. It's really good. They've even started modeling all of the solar panels that they are putting on the roof here. I think that you'll even see some trains that go by. So there's several trains that go through this area. And so you'll see some of the trains that go by. They've got the startup pads here on the international concourse. So that's really nicely set. They've got a special gate down here. Well, they used to for the A380. I don't see that those jetways. They had the A380 jetways, you know, with an upper jetway, I think, out here. If you're flying cargo, you've got cargo all the way up here. So this is where you would go for FedEx. So there is the cargo zone. And we made it. How about that? And welcome aboard. I hope this worked out pretty good for you. Again, the fly-by-wire has become absolutely amazing. It keeps getting better and better. It's free. If you are brand new to the world of flight simulators and stuff, I really want to suggest that this is going to be a great airplane to use as an introductory airplane for airliners and jets. Eventually, you're going to want the Phoenix. Eventually, you're going to want the PMDG. But this is a great free way to start learning. As I always like to say on these YouTube videos, this is not about the right way versus the wrong way. This is what it is that I've found that works for me. My goal here is to show you how some of these work in a way that you can take off being an amateur, just like me. Take off, fly, land, get to the gate, and go away feeling like, okay, this was pretty cool. There are lots and lots of rabbit holes that you can jump down, and there's plenty of time to do that here in the flight simulator world. I'm new here on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, I read them all here. And I hope you'll join us for the spy flight over on Twitch. We are flying group flights, and it's every day, Tuesday through Sunday. Our departure time right now is 1900 Zulu. There's a Discord channel, and that's where you can go and find out where we're going. We also do most of the flights that we take are flight suggestions from people that are flying with me. So I hope you are doing well. I will look forward to seeing you soon here on YouTube and on the friendly skies in Twitch. Stay healthy, stay safe, and cheers.